It is 9 o'clock on a Thursday, which only means one thing. It's UK Cowboys time. Unfortunately for you lot, Mike is not in the hot seat tonight. He's trusted me for some strange reason, but fear not. We have our two prides of Scotland, Lorne and Paul, and our good friend from across the pond. We've got Nix. How are you all doing, guys?
No bad.
Yeah, no bad. Put the loss at the weekend behind us and looking forward.
Yeah, next game.
Yeah, we've done the 7 stages of grief. Time to move on.
Agreed.
We are confident for this week. Are we going to leave that for a little bit later in the show?
Yeah. Before you mention anything, Jamie, can we actually say welcome to the humble pie club to the Philadelphia Eagles? Because we failed to mention that on Tuesday. Because it's like I told you were already beat, but man.
And let's hope Jeff Saturday repeats his 100% coaching record and knocks them off again this weekend as well.
Interesting times.
I was saying that I think we have to look back through his old tweets, are we? Because that one resurfaced to him taking the mick out of the Raiders, and then went and got stick one on them. So I think we need to do some scouting this week.
Possibly, yeah.
Fair, very fair.
Yeah, and welcome to everybody that's watching at home. I know we've just seen one pop up.
Dad's gone. It's party time. Labarsky. Labarsky.
As I say, as the parents are the way, so the kids are so this could go way off. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it depends what context you're going to swing this about, Jamie. We don't want to know.
Oh, you come on, you know me. It's plain and simple. Yeah, so I'll just sit here and let you guys talk and just listen to you lot.
If you think it's bad now, wait until the guests that we've got.
Oh yeah.
Wait until the guests that Jamie's lined up for in December as well. That'll be.
Oh, it's going to be freaking phenomenal.
I tell you what, though, it's going to be phenomenal. I think we're all going to have a shave and wear a suit.
Oh my god. Oh yeah.
But yeah,
right.
Yeah,
okay.
Before we go way off, should we jump straight to news, Paul?
Yeah, let's do the latest news. Let's do it. Wait, 2 these things.
So I think the first thing probably best to cover is the injury reports out. D-Law and Quinton Bahana both didn't participate today, which heading towards the end of the week's not what you really want to hear. But I'm thinking, looking at the last couple of days, that D-Law could be a effective player. I think it depends on how he goes today, tomorrow, and obviously today's not. Does either of those, probably a stupid question in terms of D-Law, but as a whole, does that worry any of you guys heading into what's a tough game this weekend?
I think the Tech McKinley signing makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah.
Because now you don't know what you're going to get here. Both feet, knee, and even himself thinks he might have a fracture where he had surgery before. So they're kind of managing his load to keep him fresh to come out here and play on Sundays. But yeah, at that point, they knew this coming into it, and that's a lot more clarity into the Tech McKinley signing. Obviously, we kind of knew, right? He was a DQ guy in Atlanta. He spent some time on a couple of different practice squads, most recently the Rams since his departure from Atlanta. And you're like, okay, well, they're adding a guy the DQ knows. We have a log jam at defensive end to a certain extent, but now hearing the D-Law news, to me, I'm like, oh, that was the light bulb. Like, this is why.
Yeah, agreed.
I think Bahana's just been added today because of an illness. Now, Ferguson had an illness last week and was able to play in the Green Bay game. Who knows if Bahana gets back? But if it's just a simple case of food poisoning or something like that, then should be good to go. Top up on the electrolytes, get an IV or whatever, and you're ready and ready to go.
That part.
as Nick's alluded to there, the Cowboys signed edge rusher Pat McKinley this week, former first rounder, well known in the DQ system. And the Cowboys also added Antonio Callaway, wide receiver, most recently with the practice squad of the Chiefs. And the last time he caught a pass was with the Browns in 2019. Does that excite you guys? Or do you think it's just another another body?
I think it's going to be another body, but I do generally quite like Antonio Callaway. I thought when he did play for the Browns, and we got to see him quite a lot during the whole Hard Knocks series a couple of years back, where you get to know him as a player in that. And I generally quite liked him. Like, so if we can try and get the best out of him, then cool, whatever. But again, I think it just kind of breaks down to just adding an extra body in, really. Don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I think until, it doesn't preclude us from signing somebody like OBJ if required.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, you're not getting anything out of Tolbert at the moment. Washington, is up in the air as to when they're going to start his 21-day window. So Callaway's somebody that you can call up on game day, and once he knows the system, call him up and you can play him, see how he goes. In his rookie year, he did have a couple of games where he went off, and you thought, oh, this is the next guy to hit the league. And then, he had games where he did nothing. So it's, is it if it comes, it's great. If not, you've not spent anything, and he's on the practice squad. So.
I mean, I'll tell you, my guy Spoonie said he's the third best wide receiver on this roster right now. I said, dear God.
Oof. Jeez. That's a bold statement.
Well, but then you start looking at it. I mean, Tolbert, Brown, Fioco on IR, Dennis Houston.
Yeah, I suppose I can see where he's coming from. I mean, I still would say Brown's probably still wide receiver number 3, but he's not playing. He's not playing that we expected of him when he played with Cooper Rush, and I think that's just down to the connection between what Cooper and Brown had as second stringers. They had a lot more time together compared to Brown getting passes by Dak and stuff like that. So I don't know if that may be something to do with it as well, but who knows? But
here's the other thing too that people don't talk about is, whenever Brown was playing with Rush, he was actually running in the number 2 slot, not Gallup. And maybe that's something they need to take a look at, because he was able to produce and do things as the number 2, unlike Gallup and the injury and how he's kind of battling back from that and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, it's just at this point, I've talked about it ad nauseum throughout the whole process once Cooper was moved on. You just don't have adequate NFL depth when it comes to the wide receiver position. They tried to do some of the trade deadline. It didn't happen. Okay, they had a Callaway. Cool. He's another Jag, right? Just another guy.
Yeah.
And look, even with the Odell stuff, I mean, 30-year-old, 2 ACLs. We're seeing what Gallup's kind of going through, battling back from his ACL. What is that going to mean to you or on the field if you do get him landed here and what goes on? So, yeah, man, this wide receiver core, man. But hey, they added a body. Hope for the best.
I'll say this though. I don't think it really matters who we do bring in. I think it's more down to what the plays have been set out, and that's me making my bold statement here, because we saw that in that fourth quarter. I know we're not trying to talk about the previous game and that, but it has to be said. It's like, if you're given, doesn't matter who you put in there, you could probably put in a good roster with a bunch of nobodies, essentially, given them the right coaching, the right setup, or whatever not. And we didn't do that against Green Bay. So I think even if it was OBJ, even if it's Callaway, I'm sure, given the right player situation, they can be quite effective and be utilized in the right way. But in terms of what Kellen Moore is doing as of recently, he's not doing that. So it's more down to what we're doing in terms of the play call. And I think more than anything, it's the problem right now.
Timbo?
I think on both sides of the ball as well. I mean, we were talking on Tuesday night.
Sorry, Jamie?
No, sorry, go on. No, I think I've had a bit of a lag there. Sorry, long gone.
No, go for it.
Jamie and his £1 internet connection.
No, I was going to smoke, and I thought you guys.
I can't hear him.
You can't hear him.
Right, you
right, Lauren.
I thought you.
I see like two every other frames as he's moving.
I know. So for Spotify listeners, Jamie is probably still having internet issues and stuff like that, a little bit laggy right now. So we do apologize if there's a wee bit of delays. But Lauren, do you want to kind of go on what you were kind of saying there?
Yeah, I think on both sides of the ball at the moment, the play calling is either questionable or we've just not got the guys the guys aren't communicating well within the schemes, and there's issues with that. So, and the one thing again I noticed in this last game is that Dak was back to sort of doing a hell of a lot of checkouts and audibles at the line. So, while we're criticizing Kellen Moore, I mean, it could quite easily be that Dak's making the changes on the line as well. So, we're not gifted with knowing actually what Kellen Moore is calling each play. But yeah, there's been some sort of disconnect in the last week or so.
Yeah, I mean, while Jamie's kind of sorting out his connection problems just now, I just think we're going into this game right now. We just need to make sure we just kind of, well, I don't. It's easy for us as fans to say it. Try and keep it simple. Try and make it a fair distribution out to running the run game and passing game, because throughout that whole fourth quarter, it was so pass heavy when we didn't have to be, and that's what really did cost us the game. So next, I don't know what was your general thoughts like going into this game against the Vikings. How would you see what our keys to win in terms of the play calling would be?
And I've said earlier this week, this is the most pivotal game for the Cowboys this season, bar none, because what they said from the mothership and how they've built this thing and how they've talked is, we'll get about 2 scores, the teams won't be able to run the ball on us anymore. That's what they said. That's how they built this thing. And yeah, we've given up yards to teams and things happen and whatnot. But the scenario finally happened. You're up by 2 scores in the fourth quarter. You're 195-0 all time with that kind of setup. And you're like, okay, Aaron, now you got to throw the ball. We're going to come get you. And the Packers are like, no, actually we don't, because y'all can't stop this run. And we're going to keep doing it and running that rock on you. And that kind of shatters the identity a little bit of what they thought this thing could be and how they wanted to do it going up. And now you're headed to a team that's 8-1. But I want to kind of pull back for a second off of what you're talking about, this and the fourth, or the play call and everything else. It just kind of grand scope this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Can I say a cuss word? Is that okay?
Yeah.
We'll let you. Mike like we said, Daddy's not here tonight, so the kids will play.
Yeah, okay. we'll let you off of this one.
Just one. It's the same shit, guys.
Oh, yeah,
10 years. Yeah, 10 years. 10 years. It's just the same shit. It just, look, the coaches have changed. Quarterbacks have changed. We had these same conversations when Romo was here.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just the same. And the biggest thing to me was, go back to the Niners game in the playoffs. I mean, it hasn't changed. That's why, to me, I think this team is cooked, man. I was like, well, is it the personnel? Is it the scheme? I just think the team's cooked, man. That's where I'm at. They got to show it to me. And look, when's the last time the Cowboys went on back-to-back weeks and beat an 8-1 team and a 7-2 team?
Oh, good question. Was that back in 2013?
Maybe. Yeah, somewhere back then.
Yeah, because that was the season where
that's within 4 days too, by the way. Not even a full week.
Yeah. Like, if I can recall, I think it was the same season where the Cowboys fan smashed his television because we lost to the Redskins. Do you remember that whole video went viral? They smashed up his whole living. Like, he talked about screaming about Jason Garrett. I think it was that year. That was when we were. I think we were undefeated at that point, like 7-0 or something like that. But just a wee follow-up question to what you were kind of saying there, like, out of those 10 years, would you say we have a team capable of winning Super Bowls? Like, if I can recall, I would say 65% of those years easily. Like if you look at the squad that they had and the capabilities of these players could be, yeah, we could have been.
I think they've had opportunities, but they didn't shore up what they needed to, right? If you go back, like for instance, like 2014, and with this offense in Murray, but you knew the defense just wasn't there. They didn't do enough.
That was the biggest. I think that was if you were to have, well, maybe not our defense last week, but overall our defense right now mixed in with that 24, that would have been
that was
that would have been El Perfecto.
Yeah, and 2016 kind of the same thing a little bit. You just need a little bit more defense, So I mean, they've put rosters together, but it's just simply what we talked about during the preseason and everything else. We knew linebacker was a little skinny, and we knew that wide receiver was not where it needed to be. And now here you are 9 games into the season, and the thing that really bothered me with the tape, obviously miscommunication from the wide receivers, but on the other side that doesn't get talked about because of this defense and how they've helped us out this year, there was miscommunication with the defensive line where you had like a defensive tackle hitting a stunt, but the end wasn't stunning. And I'm like, oh, that's a problem. And then at times with the scheme, I mean, there's literally 2 offensive linemen. There's nobody over them, and they're going to go get Micah Parsons at the Mike linebacker position. And what are you going to do about it? Because you don't have anybody there because one guy – pivoted out. The other guy didn't pivot anywhere. And here it is. So there was some debt. And that's kind of frustrating for me. Things will happen from time to time. But boy, when it happens for us, it's always a conglomerate of things that are happening. And you have different situations from the wide receiver. And look, that's happened throughout Kellen Moore's time here with miscommunications and wrong routes or different things happening. But it was very frustrating to see the defensive line have some of those same issues this week as well, too.
Yeah, but, Jamie, before we move on, mate, I want to just give a wee shout out to people who's just kind of commented so far. So Mendoza's in the house, Miller Corbett's in the house, good old Sid. Welcome back, Sid. Good to see you start creating content again. And obviously, Big Labastri's obviously trying to take the mickey tonight, telling Mike he's got grass on Jamie. So thanks, guys. Thanks for swinging by, and we appreciate you all. So, Jamie, do you want to kind of start dissecting our offense then? We'll move on to that.
Yeah, go on then. Smash it through, Paul.
All right.
So yeah, it's like Paul said. The best way to kick this off is let's get into the offense. But before we do, actually, he's last couple of days he's broken out. The Cowboys this week. So for all you Game Pass users this side of the pond, you're going to be frustrated this week because the Cowboys are the 9:25 game for us. So sadly, blackouts on NFL Game Pass. So yeah, stick with us on Facebook, Twitter, because we'll be providing updates as we always do. So before we get out of the way, before we go, get the offensive stats up there so we can see them.
Yes, so back in the States, so I believe that will be 3:25 Central Time. Is that correct?
Correctamundo, yes, sir.
Yeah, that'll be a decent wee kickoff time, actually, to be fair. Like, you can still tailgate and you can still party afterwards, pretty much after the game. So I like the mid-time games. I think it's probably better, to be fair. But
I think the Cowboys are used to that. They're not used to the 12 o'clock kickoffs, and I think obviously you've seen the couple of 12 o'clock games that we've had this year that we started off really slow in all of those games. So the 9:25 or 3:25 Central Time, that seems to work out well for us. So
So heading into this game then, it was a bit stop-start last week, wasn't it? I think we all agreed there. There were flash points, there were power points. This Minnesota team's not a scrub team. They're 8-1. They've got talent all over the offense. And you can even argue that it's all about defense as well. But in terms of our offense, where do you guys see this game being won or lost for the Cowboys?
I think it's going to be very difficult for us to get the win, to be perfectly honest. After seeing how they played and came out from the ashes against the Buffalo Bills, I think that shows a testament of what type of team they are. sadly, like even if like because I'm seeing on their well, in terms of their defense, Dalvin Tomlinson, he's questionable right now. And cornerback Cameron Danzier Senior, I believe I tried it, as he's on injury reserve. So that's, I mean, they've got other guys in that squad that can really cause our offense some problems and stuff like that. So I'm expecting to be a really tough test against this team. I mean, they're not like, obviously, like offensively, Vikings will go into their offense in the defensive segment, but I think it's just going to be one of our toughest games. And I thought I would never say that comparison to last year's game where we fought, like, where we beat them with Cooper Rush. I think this is going to be a completely different game this year.
Yeah, different coach, obviously, and you kind of look at the Rams and their former offensive coordinator, and you kind of look at some of the things that are going on with the Rams offense this year, and you kind of look at what the offense is looking like in Minnesota. The juice might have left the building over there in LA is over there in Minnesota now, and so those are definitely some interesting points. You're looking at this coach and what he's bringing to the table. You know, the one thing that I find interesting is they're 8-1, but they haven't won a game by more than 7 points. That's all they want. One possession games. So even as good as they are playing, the one side here is for our offense is there will be some opportunities. Kirk, because we'll still talk. Well, I know we're not talking about our defense, but on our offense, you can run the ball on them some, but you got to stay committed to it. You know, Zeke coming back. If you do get up by them points, maybe you run the ball a little bit more in the fourth quarter. I just don't think the Cowboys trusted Malik Davis enough there in the fourth quarter. So if you're able to get yourself in that same situation with Zeke looking like he's going to play this week, that helps. In that moment, I just think the Cowboys have to do what they do best and what this personnel is. And I think this is what good coaches do and offensive coordinators do. You have to play to your strengths. And if you go back to the Bears game prior to the bye week, what was it? It was all the 12 and 13 personnel. It's about Schultz. It's about Ferguson. It's about Hendershot. It was doing those things. And we went to the bye week and went up to Green Bay in the cold weather game and said, nah, we're good on that. I mean, Sean McKeon was in a ton of play action passes and stuff. I'm like, why? Why is it McKeon? What are we doing here? So I think realistically, you just have to buy in who you are, and who you are is a running team. You don't have the adequate wide receiver weapons on the outside, and you need to lean on your strongest receivers as a collective group, and that's your tight ends. And that's where, to me, Kellen Moore has to design this thing up and get back into it with these tight ends and get this offense adjusted to get on the road and try to go get a big win.
Yeah, I mean, because we were dissecting the pregame for the Packers, because they were running like a 3-4 defense. And whenever one of those linebackers moved down to the line of scrimmage, that leaves a door open. And that's perfect. And it's normally your Mike linebacker normally who comes in to fill in the gap, the A gap or B gap, depending on where the nose tackle goes. And that just leaves a perfect pass for like the tight end to move right down the middle. So, and we didn't see that at all. So I mean, I can't recall what the Vikings defensive front is. Are they running a 4 front? 4-3?
Yeah, they're in the 4-3.
Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah. See, I just don't know how we're gonna utilize. Like, it'll be, I would say, a more tougher job to utilize the tight ends in the forefront, because they will need to kind of seal the edge with whoever defensive lineman is. Prior to that, because obviously there's more guys in the line of scrimmage than that, but I don't know. I'm actually trying to speechless, kind of think how we're going to win this game. I'm really struggling to think how we are going to win.
Well, here, I'll tell you why, because it's the prototypical thing the Cowboys will do: drop a game they're not supposed to, and then go win a game they're not supposed to win. We've seen it time and time again with their ass.
Well, it exactly did that last year with Minnesota, to be fair. Like, because we actually had no faith at all when Cooper Rush went to Minnesota and beat them, like, convincingly, pretty much. Like, what was the score last night? It was 18. Well, it was 18-15. We still won the game, but 20-16. 2016, back in October last year. But yeah, I'm just. If it's just one of those scenarios we play amazing against Minnesota, why couldn't we do that last week? Again, it just goes to show is the level of inconsistency when it comes to our offense.
Well, right, and you look at the Packers defense, and their secondary was strong, but their run defense wasn't very good. And Rashawn Gary was out for the year, one of their defensive ends, and Kellen Moore came in there and said, "Nah, let's go after there." Man, Jerry Alexander was everywhere, and that's just the thing for me. Is look, what is this team is, and attack him in that way. And I know he wants to be very fluid in that, and whether it's 11 personnel and different things like that, they want to be very fluid within those things. But at a certain point, and you go back to it, which is a good point here about the Cooper Rush playbook, that's just your identity and who you are because of the personnel that you have. It's just what it is. And that within that playbook is going to give you better production from the quarterback position. But that's what you have to play because you're limited. Excuse me, you're limited at the wide receiver position. You just are. I don't care. I mean, I know they're trying to go get a guy like Brandon Cooks at the trade deadline. Sure, they signed Callaway over here to what you call it. Maybe they add OBJ, but we don't know how he's going to be coming back from ACL. We're seeing Gallup struggle with the ACL right now. Obviously, Tolbert puts you behind the 8 ball because you drafted him in the 3rd round. It hasn't panned out for you. Obviously, the James Washington injury is taking much longer than anticipated. So you have to look at your team and understand this is what we have healthy and this is what we can do good at. Even with more men on the offensive line or on the defensive line there, Paul, against Minnesota. But what they can do is you can put a Hendershot in the slot. You don't have to have your traditional both of them butted up on the line, do different things. Be a little creative and figure it out within there and use these guys. And
and you would think with the creative mind of Kellen Moore, he would do that.
Right.
Like,
but here we are.
Because I know. It's like,
look at us.
I know. It feels like Pandora's box, honestly. Like, but in any situation, when you look at Atlanta, look how they utilize Kyle Pitts. They do use him as like a wide receiver as well. So rather than just a tight end, and he really is more or less a jacked up version of Megatron playing tight end, really.
Right.
So but if we can start. Just like you're saying there, Nix, just kind of utilize our strong points with the tight ends. I think that can just open so many more factors where it comes to moving the ball up to the line of scrimmage. Up to the end zone. Sorry.
Yeah, and I mean one of the things that we've done quite well in the last couple of weeks is bringing all the multiple tight ends on, and you can it forces the defense to think, oh, they're going for a heavy set, and you bring on your run stoppers or whatever, and then obviously we then line them up out wide or whatever, and you create mismatches that way. But what we really need is Kellen Moore's offense from the 2nd and 3rd quarter last week. Forget about first and 4th quarters. We were doing things that were working. The play where CD Lamb suddenly took the ball from center. From shotgun, handed off to Dak, and then Dak flips it to can't remember who it was. Pollard coming from wing back. Things like that, that's working. But it's then when you go, you dissipate away from the run and you start passing the ball unexplainedly in the 4th quarter. Now looking at the way the defense is, Minnesota's defense is a little bit weak on the passing game. So I mean they're 24th in the league for giving up passing yards. Right. So again, that would suggest use the mismatches, try and get something going with your tight ends. Just put them in a position again. If you can get them setting up for the stopping the rush, and then obviously make it look like that, and then swing them out and use the triple tight end sets or whatever. Create the mismatches that way. You should be able to pass on them quite well. Even the running game, they're sort of middle of the league. They're about 12th, I think, for run defense. So
I'll just double check that with you. So their run defense for the rush is 16th.
16th, right? Okay, so again, middle of the pack. So
and pass is 29.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so but here's the thing. Overall, like their defense is actually ranked 20, according to ESPN, they're 29th.
Oh, hey, breaking news. Breaking news here. Well, you know about all the snow that was going on there in the Browns-Bills game?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They moved the game.
Wow.
Yeah, the Buffalo's home game against the Detroit Lions on Sunday to Detroit, excuse me. I'm sorry, the Browns and Bills games getting moved to Detroit.
Oh, so it's just no longer a home game. Wow.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
It'll be a neutral site. It'll be a neutral site game.
There's really bad snow in there. I think even we were talking off air that the Cowboys game now in Minnesota predicted minus 13 degrees, which for two fellow UK fans that are out there, Ian Davis and Mike Bull, I think probably pack the thermals because it's going to be a cold night for everybody, even though it is an indoor stadium. But I think swiftly before we move on to the Cowboys defense, talk to me about the run game, guys. Zeke, as they've said, if he's fit and healthy, he's going to be playing. What do you do? Do you lean on him a lot more, or do you roll with Tony Pollard because he's been tense last few weeks?
I think we need Ezekiel Elliott more than ever to really put down the battering ram to kind of open the doors for Tony Pollard, because there's no way, like, the Vikings defensive front are very physical, and you need a guy like Zeke to kind of wear them down a bit. That kind of opens the door for like Tony Pollard when you bring him into the set or whatever the drive is. So I think we do definitely need him, but at the same time, I don't see why we don't utilize a lot more Malik Davis as well. Like, just kind of like keep the options open for that example, to see, like, for what he did last week. I thought he did really exceptional, very well. And what was it, like 5 reps? And was it 5 reps he only had? And he like scored like 53 yards in total or something like that. I mean, that's actually quite a decent shift for a small part he did. So I wouldn't mind seeing more of that if that's what he's contributing to the team. So,
and I thought he was quite strong in pass defense as well.
His pass protection, I thought he was actually pretty decent as well.
I mean, even on some of the plays, he was only just standing there and getting bullied but that is blocking. You're making the guy go through you to get to the quarterback. That's something that we haven't seen that with Pollard. So
for a running back, if you can slow down a defensive lineman or a linebacker for that extra 1 second, then you're doing your job right.
Yep. But I mean, I think again, hate to harp on about last weekend, but I think we missed Zeke in that fourth quarter. I think we would have salted that game away if we'd had Zeke as a running back. So I completely agree with Paul. We need Zeke there to bully his way through the line, get the short yardage, and again, just make Pollard that. The one thing as well, I mean, after the Chicago game where Pollard obviously hit the ground running, he came off after that 54-yard TD run, and apparently said to Skip Pete that that was him done for the day. He didn't have anything left in the tank. Now he didn't have many more carries last week, so he does have a limit of how many plays he can actually carry the ball. So the more running backs that you have in your stable, the better your ground game's going to be. And as we've been saying, it's been great the last couple of weeks. You've seen Pollard, striking out, having 100-yard rushing games, but there's obviously something there that's we've needed to rely on somebody else to carry the ball, and if you don't have that, then that's when the stupid plays come in as well. So let's get Zeke back on the field as quickly as possible, I think.
Just before we move on to the defense, Jamie, sorry I'm kind of hijacking this because I'm just looking at this article from ESPN. It's the kind of like pre-game kind of article going through the whole stats and history and stuff like that. It just says here the Vikings defense overall ranked 29th, the rush defense 16th, pass defense 29th. Like, they didn't really in fairness, kind of when you're looking at the Buffalo Bills game, the most of the work was all done by stopping the run and that goal line. That was the main power unit from that Buffalo Bills and Vikings game, I thought, because that was just sheer craziness what happened. Like, but I don't know about you guys, but do you think there might be a possibility we might actually go full tilt and absolutely destroy the Vikings in the passing game, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, they'll be starting a rookie corner. I mean, we know that, but again, it just goes back to, can Michael Gallup take advantage of it? And that's, the conundrum of us is when we're going against a team like this that, is down bad with the passing defense, you have CeeDee Lamb and a bunch of possibles. I mean, you just don't know where it's going to be at with the other wide receivers. It'd just be, I mean, forget the Cooper thing. Just how critical even just getting Cedric Wilson out of here and not having him here on this team now and what that means. So, yeah, opportunities there. Sure. Is our wide receiver core able to get it done, though, is the question.
I think they can get it done. It just depends what the play is. I think that's the question. Like, I think it's all down to what Kellen Moore sets out. This is the play we're going to run here. I want you guys to execute. If it's a really simple route, whatever, I think it'd be a lot more simple. But I think the more they complicate it, that's when we'd really get our heads stuck in the ground, pretty much.
Yeah, get rid of the plays where there's options that happen on the plays. I mean, as we discussed on Tuesday night, the second interception, that was purely difference between what Dak saw and what CD Lamb saw, and CD Lamb should have adjusted, or one of them should have adjusted for what the Packers actually gave us. And it's exactly the same as happened in the Bears game. So, that's something they're not on the same page, whether it's the fact that Dak's been out 4 weeks or not, and this is only third game back. But the easier you make it, so that again, if guys don't have to think about things, they only have to get to a certain position, run a specific route or whatever, then that makes it easy, and they don't have to think about it. They just have to go out and there and execute, and that's what we need.
Yeah, that just kind of leads up to one of the comments Labarsky put up. Is talking about Kellen Moore, obviously his creativity is the problem. The offense should be simple, and also with that, it's like we can win this game with the Cooper Rush playbook, which I thought was quite funny, to be fair.
Yeah.
What do you think about it? So with Kellen Moore, some, like I say, we kind of, there's never that in between us with Kellen Moore, really. It's either really bad or it's really good. Do you think he's a little bit out of his depth, guys? Do you think it's just maybe McCarthy is overruling some of the calling? What do you reckon?
I honestly can't put my finger around it, Jamie, because there's weeks where we're praising him to the high heavens, then there's weeks we want him gone, we want him fired. It's just inconsistency. Is this just the problem? If we can get him just playing the more simplicity way and being consistent, and I'm sure we'll be in a more happier state. But it's just I'm just more angry at the fact that we're just not consistent enough more than anything.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Nix? Says it all, doesn't it?
the sigh said it all, ladies and gentlemen.
It's as the star turns, man. It's just what it's been for
10
over a
years.
decade. It's just what it is, man. So I think the biggest thing for me, just in general, looking at this, and not to go all the way back to the Packers game or whatnot, just moving forward and what's going on with more, is like the team had opportunity to say, hey, no, we actually are different this year. I think they did some things that showed you, oh, this defense is better. Oh, we lost some key guys, but we're playing and we're getting wins. We're better, right? You go out here and you early on, you take care of the Bengals who were in the Super Bowl last year. You beat the Rams. They were in the Super Bowl last year. Hey, we're a different team now. And you went up there against a 3-6 team that just lost to Detroit, and this is what you did. And it's like, oh, well, actually, it's same old Cowboys. And it's just frustrating in those moments. So, yeah, I mean, it's just like last year. If Kellen's in the bag, then you feel pretty good about what this team can do and how they can get, a W. And then when it's a little wonky and it's not all on time, and then it gets back into, well, it's going to be a long day, boys. And, that's just kind of what it is.
Speaking about a long day, I don't know if you guys might have saw this news headline that Ndamukong Suh just signed for the Eagles.
Yeah.
Don't ruin it. Don't ruin it, Paul. Don't ruin the day.
Yeah, sorry to break it to you, dude.
Go along. See if you can inject some enthusiasm before we head on to the defense and probably ruin everybody's night.
I just think, I mean, we're criticizing Kellen Moore. Obviously, if the plays worked if the execution was great of the plays, then we might be thinking this is completely different. I mean, there's something. Is it the play calling? Is it the execution? There's only so much that you can do, and yeah, these guys should know what the plays are, because obviously you should be going in. Kellen Moore, you should have basically a list of 40 plays or so for the whole game that you're relying on from your playbook of however many plays. It's not like suddenly Kellen Moore does go into the bottom of the bag and say, right, we haven't practiced this since training camp. Let's call this play. These are plays that they've been running through the week. They should be sharp on them. They're not. Now, is that Kellen Moore calling the wrong play at the wrong time, or is that the bad execution? And that's that's the thing, that we're not inside the huddle knowing what's going on. We're not seeing all this. I think on our day we can beat people. We can beat people, and this could be a wake up call. Like I don't know. You go back to the 1992 teams, and there was a game against the Eagles on a Monday night, and we got absolutely shut out by them, and then that was it. We steamrolled the rest of the season. So I don't think it's quite doom and gloom, but let's on our day we can compete with them.
Well,
I think we're about to.
Yeah, and I was going to say, like, don't even. I mean, and I'm not going to super bag on Kellen. It's just kind of whatever's happened throughout you're up 14 in the fourth quarter. It's on Dan Quinn in the defense. 4th and 7, and you just give up the whole touchdown, not even a first down. You give up a big touchdown, But you're up 14 in the fourth quarter. You scored 28 up there in Lambeau. The offense did enough there. Yeah, you don't like the turnovers early, obviously, but in general, you did enough to win the game. And you have Micah Parsons come out today and say, the next time that gives me 14-point lead, I'll make sure we don't lose that game again. Like, oh well, that's cool. Doesn't do much for us now, but appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, you're
getting the message.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, like, just if you exclude that fourth quarter alone, offensively, I thought we were actually okay. Mm-hmm. We had that nice balance between passing the ball, running the ball. Then whatever brain fart happened, it just decided to be pass, and never those situations like the 3rd and 4. Then what was it? Third and 6 or something? The one that led up to the 4th down where we had to pass the ball in overtime, pretty much, and it gave the Packers the ball, and they went up for the field goal. But we had 2 attempts to run the ball, pretty much, to gain that 1st down, and we didn't utilize it. So, but
trying to get too pretty over sometimes. Like I said, what's wrong with taking 3 points in overtime and trusting the defense? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it weren't great all game for the defense, but it only takes one play, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you can, and I just kind of knew it. Like, here's the thing about, like, I know we keep talking about bloody the Packers game. I know, I do apologize, folks. I know it's the pregame, but when you're going up against Aaron Rodgers, you just don't know what to expect. You really just don't know.
Exactly. Yep.
But what we do know what to expect, though, Jamie, in terms of our with the Vikings offense is Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
So.
Go on then, Paul. Crack it on, and we'll try and chew the fat on this.
Yep, we'll do.
So then, guys, let's have a look at this. Let's break down how this defense is going to go. So, just before we get into it, let's look at the stats of the Cowboys are facing. Kirk Cousins is averaging 262 yards a game. Dalvin Cook on the ground is averaging 81 yards a game. And Justin Jefferson is averaging 118 yards a game. So come on, tell us all, and you how is the Cowboys defense going to stop this free-headed?
The run defense is going to be the hardest part to try and crack, but to stop the passing game, get to Kirk Cousins as soon as possible. Rush the hell out of him. Because right now, as you can see, like their offensive tackle, Christian Darisaw, he's questionable out for this game. So that kind of leaves a kind of weak spot in their offensive line. I mean, what can you say? Like we're seeing, like, and even Justin Jefferson, he's questionable right now. Their star wide receiver, according to ESPN, he's questionable as well. And Bicey Johnson, wide receiver, he's on injury reserve, which was reported today. So I think for us as a defense, we just need to make sure we just make Kirk Cousins feel really uncomfortable. But I think how they're in a situation based on what our performance last week was, is stick to the run game a lot more heavier than the passing game, knowing that Jefferson might be out potentially in this game.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Jefferson as well. I mean, obviously he's been fairly quiet in the games that we've had against him the last couple of years. Whether that's Trayvon Diggs, certainly Trayvon Diggs last year kept him in check. I think he only had 2 catches for 21 yards last year or something like that. So if you put Diggs on him, but then you've got Thielen as well. The question mark there is who's covering him. Is Anthony Brown going to pass concussion protocol, or are we going to have to risk it with Bossman Fat, or even, I mean, Nashon Wright was a healthy scratch last week. He was one of the inactives. Have you seen enough from Bossman Fat that you're going to bring Nashon Wright on, see what he can do?
I mean, that's the conundrum that you're in, because basically the Cowboys swung and missed at cornerback in last year's draft in the second and third round with Joseph and Nashon, because that should give you adequate NFL depth there at the cornerback position, considering, the draft assets that you gave to go get these guys. And we watched as soon as Brown went out of that game, obviously got burnt and hurt himself with the concussion, went out, and it just wasn't good. And basically where they're at with Diggs is they don't let him go shadow. Aaron Rodgers is like, cool, well, we're just not going to put our guys wherever Diggs is and put them on the other side and just throw on against Brown and Bland, excuse me, not Brown, Joseph and Bland, former second-round pick and then a fifth-round rookie that you're dealing with right now. That's why the Jordan Lewis injury hurts a little bit more than it's really been talked about, just because now you lose a Brown. Now you look at the depth in what you have here behind them with the 2 guys you drafted last year. One came and be active, and then, of course, Bland. And look, I think Bland's done a great job up until this week, but he's a fifth-round rookie. I mean, he's going to go through growing pains. That's okay. I mean, it's going to happen. So, yeah, man, it's frustrating, because now if you look, if they're not going to start letting Diggs travel a little bit here and trying to eliminate maybe their top threat, teams can just say, well, we just won't insert our best wide receiver over there and put him on whoever, and then that can get a little scary for you. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of adjustments they make this week within that. And, of course, on the Brown thing, he sees the doctor tomorrow to see if he passes a concussion protocol. He actually said he had concussion his rookie season, feels right about the same, says he feels good to go. He expects to get cleared, but tomorrow we'll find out for sure. If he gets cleared tomorrow, he will play Sunday.
Yeah. You've just got to remember that the concussion protocol has been tightened up this year on the back of Tua. So, there's a lot more hoops to jump through. The one thing I would say as well, obviously we're playing indoors, we're playing on AstroTurf this week, so you've not got the field issues that, I mean, Deron Bland generally has been good this season, but I think last week, he was one of the players probably didn't heed Mike McCarthy's advice on what cleats to wear, and you saw that he was slipping, making cuts and what have you.
Huge fall there in overtime, yeah, for sure. Ugh.
So he should be stronger this week again in pass protection,
Mm-hmm.
It's just a concern about whether Anthony Brown's back on the field or not. But I mean, even so, I don't think Anthony Brown hasn't been having the greatest of seasons. I mean, you were coming out of camp thinking he was going to have 4 or 5 picks and a couple of pick sixes. And we haven't been seeing that this year, and he has been giving up passes. But you're
not wrong. His play from last year to this year hasn't been the same. I definitely agree with you, Lauren. But I think what we learned is the play from him to whoever's behind him is a steep drop.
Oh, yeah.
Is kind of an issue. And I think the other side to this thing, too, very simply is, will the Cowboys be willing to set the edge this week against Dalvin Cook? Because obviously I think Minnesota coming into this game is going to have to say, let's go challenge their edges and see. They were using a lot of bunch formations, some crackbacks and stuff that they were getting into. and our cornerbacks wasn't even willing to come up to kind of help set the edge or anything. And look, man, the safeties that we talked very highly about, Curse didn't have a good game. I'm just going to be honest with y'all. Curse didn't really have a really good game this past week. I expect to see him have a bounce back game. I think he's that kind of player. He's built differently. I think he comes back and plays better. But I think very early on, I do expect Minnesota to kind of try us on the edges and take a deep shot with the play action. I really do. I think they're going to look exactly what happened with Green Bay and walk right into this thing and try some of those things very early in the script. In that first 15 to 20 play script, I think we're going to see that.
Yeah, like very similar to what the Eagles did to us as well with Jalen Hurts with the run play options as well. So I think there's well, seeing I don't think they really do much run play options, do they?
A little bit, but not much. They do some. They do some, but not a ton.
Yeah. But it'll be very interesting to see what happens, for sure.
I think hopefully the one thing that they've been doing in practice this week is tackling practice, because last week the tackling was hellish.
Tackling fuel.
You know, the number of times guys were going in and they were lowering the shoulder and what have you, but they just weren't wrapping up. And against a guy like Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, they'll just bounce off and get another 4 or 5 yards. If you do that with Dalvin Cook and Mattison, who are basically one and the same back, they're both exactly the same style. They're not a thunder and lightning like Pollard and Zeke. You are going to have trouble with those guys because they can easily bounce it off and then get out to the outside. So, the fundamentals of tackling should be stressed in this week's practice, and hopefully we see an improvement there.
Aside from Jefferson for them, Thielen or Hawkinson, who would be the next guy that you would be worried about?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we didn't really talk much about Hawkinson. We're talking about this passing game, in particular with, Jefferson and these running backs. But yeah, you can't go to sleep on Hawkinson for sure. And what he brings to the table as a tight end and what's going on there. But as you said, moving away from him and asking the question of who, I think it's Kirk Cousins. Paul, I think you kind of said it right. You got to go get him. You can't let Kirk get comfortable. I think that's really what it boils down to. If you allow him to get comfortable and get into a rhythm, he'll slice you up. It will happen. And you have to think this coordinator in this system, and you look how the Goffs of the world, the Staffords of the world have played within that system. This is now Kirk, who's played well before the system showed up, and now he gets this system to help aid him, which is a very quarterback-friendly system, and adding Hawkinson makes him even more dangerous. Now, the one thing about Kirk, he'll give you some candy. He will give you some candy now. But you got to make him uncomfortable, though, Paul.
Exactly.
You make him uncomfortable.
That's exactly what I was just about to say there, because without pressure, Cousins will just glide that ball to his right receivers, no problem. But when there was any ounce of pressure, there's the panic throw, like rush, try and get the ball quickly out of his hands to try and make that big spectacular play. That's what he's renowned for. He's done it at Washington. He's done it for Minnesota for all these years now. We know what he's like. So if we can get like Parsons to put pressure on, that just kind of opens up the doors for likes of DeLon Brand, for likes of Trevon Diggs, Jalen Curse, you name all the guys in the secondary to kind of pick up, make a pick, and maybe take it down to the house. We don't know, but I think pressure is probably one of the keys to victory in terms of the defense in this game. Completely different compared to steaming for Green Bay, where it's more defending the pass, because they had a much more stellar O-line. I think.
Yeah. I think we've just seen a DM from Nick Sandwich, so I think we've got a roll.
Yeah, I got something come up here at 4. I got to kind of step out, get a little inbox and whatnot. So sorry, I have to leave a little early, guys. Y'all know I love rocking with y'all, but I had something pop up. I got to step up and go to the shop real quick. Sorry.
No, thank you. But give us your scoreline before you go.
Yeah, give us your scoreline, dude.
Vikings 27, Cowboys 20.
Ooh.
I told you. Hey, look. I'm telling y'all, I'm out. Look. I have to protect my heart at this point, okay, fellas. I can't do it no more. After this Green Bay game and what happened, I'm just like, man, show me, because I don't think it is. And look, and I think and very quickly, this is the most pivotal game of this season for them. This is the fork in the road moment here, because if you go back from 2016 till 21, What have they done the Sunday before Thanksgiving? They've mirrored it. If they've won, they've won. If they lost, they lost. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen here, but boy, you take 2 L's here. That's 5 losses within the conference. You're sitting at 6-5. I'm not saying your season's over, but boy, the road to the playoffs is very, very dark.
Slim.
Right?
Yeah.
It's very slim. So to me, this is very pivotal for them. They have to win this game, to me, in my opinion, to get things kickstarted and wash it away. But until they show me they can stop the run, guys, and they haven't been able to do it, and they got Dalvin Cook and them cats up there, I'm now on the mindscape, but man, you got to show me. So I'm going 27-20, 27-20 Vikings. Joe, I'm sorry, Joe. I see he says, say what? I'm sorry, Joe. I don't want to. But dadgummit, they can't hurt me no more. I picked him in my pick 'em league to win, though, for what it's worth.
Oh, dude.
Fellas, I always love coming over here rocking with y'all. I'm so, once again, my humble apologies for him to get up out of here a little too soon.
No problem. Well, anyway, well, what I'll do is next, I'll definitely be in touch anyway with regards to in a couple of weeks' time. We'll try and meet up, get some food together, get some beers together, and finally meet in person.
Absolutely. It's gonna be a great time, guys.
I can't wait.
Safe as always and kill the rest of the show. I know y'all will anyways. Love the content on this side.
Cheers, bro. All the best, dude. Cool. That is next, everybody. Or be sure to go and give him a wee follow at your_guy_Nix. Be sure to go and check him out on Pick 6 Sports as well. So him and Spoonie, Professor O, they all do some amazing stuff as well. They go in a really deep and analytic style of this discussion of when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, and they do a really good job. So go and check them out.
Definitely. So I think, before we get into some fun and we lighten the mood up, since we asked Nick's his prediction, join in at home, everybody, get your predictions in. So come on, guys.
Yeah,
let's go around the table. What's your score prediction for this weekend? I've got mine, so I'll chuck mine in right quick, and then we'll get into you guys because you guys are more important. 34-10 to the Vikings. I'm going this week.
34-10. My goodness, are we all going for L's today? Jeez.
I'll be different. I'll go 23-21 Cowboys.
See, it's not far off what I was kind of thinking, Lauren, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think it may be an even lower score than that. I think it's going to be Cowboys 16, Vikings 13.
Yeah, we're going to have to rely on Brett Money Maher, I think.
Oh, yeah, definitely. What?
Right. So
have we got? Paul, have we got any?
So we've got some comments in the show already. So Joe from Italy, Borasera, he's went for Dallas 30, Minnesota 21. That's quite a respectable scoreline. One possession score, and Labasti. He's kind of went for since Graham's not here, I have to guess to be the positive one. I feel so bad for Graham because he gets pure mocked by Labasti every week now, and he's not been here for weeks. Oh, and I'm telling you, Labasti, I'm going to tell Graham that you hurt his feelings, man.
I tell you, I've said this for weeks. I think Labasti's really Graham. I've just got this feeling. So
anyway, but Labasti's win 27-24 Cowboys, obviously like a field goal possession win. So
sadly, Graham's still very positive. You know, he's still got 2 lines showing up on his test. So
is it?
Yeah.
How long's that been? Jeez.
Oh, just to the weekend he tested positive again. So.
All right. Well, anyway, James, shall we move on to the fantasy lounge?
Yeah, we'll say, do you want to do that, or should we pay some bills first, and then we'll
we'll do that. We'll do that at the very end. Yeah.
No,
right, guys. Right. So let's bring
everybody loves this. Everybody gets it involved and has a bit of a laugh. So yeah, the fantasy lounge. So people who've never watched it before, we go through what the certain players are predicted for this week in fantasy football. If you think it's going to be more if I'm getting it right, it's boy or boy, and if they're going to get less, it's oh boy.
You
Or
can say
however you want to pronounce it.
you can say higher or lower as well, whatever
Yeah,
you prefer.
yeah.
But obviously,
So-
you can say split or even, and it's
Yeah.
a 1 point difference, lower or higher between that. So, say the prediction is 15 fantasy points, and you say split or even, then you can either within 16 or within 14 and 16 points. That's your even split. So it's 1 point from your main actual prediction.
So what we'll do is we'll do 3 from the Cowboys, we'll do 3 from the Vikings.
So yeah,
We'll have to get Nix. We'll have to email Nixon and get his prediction as soon as he's top.
I'll send Nix a little message later on. So as you can see, do you want me to take over this, Jamie? Actually, do you want me to kind of?
If you want.
Yeah. So as you can see, guys, on the board, Dak Prescott is currently going for 20.5 points for this game against the Vikings. What do you think, guys? Sorry, before we move on, I need to bring up this comment from Joe. I'd sell my grandma before I pick up my pick against the Cowboys. That sounds like an absolute Gino DeCampo comment. Oh, brilliant. So Joe has went higher. What we thinking, Jamie?
Lower. I wait for the Cowboys scoring 10 points, so I'm going to have to go lower.
We're going lower. Okay.
I want to say higher. I think he's going to have a bounce back game this week.
Based on my prediction, it's kind of obvious. I'm going to have to go lower, so I'm going to say split actually. So it could be 19.5. You can still put up some good points in that game and a lot of yardage, but you might not put the points on the end zone. So that could actually might work out kind of in that region. So I'm saying even. And Labarski has also went for split even. So we've got a nice even spread here actually.
We don't like fence sitters, boys. Come on.
Yeah. So next on the list, and I think this could be one of the big ones, is CD Lamb for 17.2 points. Now, bear in mind that the Vikings are ranked 29th in the pass defense, and they're playing a rookie cornerback in this game, so it could be another big game for CD. And in fact, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I am going to change my prediction a little bit more. I'm going to make it Cowboys 24, Vikings 13. 24-13.
Okay.
So I'm changing my score.
Right. So CD Lamb 17.2. Go on. I'm gonna go higher. I'm going to be positive. This defense can give up the yardage. I think hopefully CD Lamb builds on last week. So yeah, let's go higher.
Yep, Joe has went higher as well. Jamie, what do you think?
I'm going to go lower, but only because I think the Cowboys will probably spread the ball out a little bit more amongst the receivers, just with how good their defense is.
I mean, when you take out the fourth quarter, I'm just trying to put this in perspective. When you even take away that fourth quarter diabolical and overtime, CD Lamb was already like 110 yards or something like that and already had a touchdown. So that's 17 points already. So I don't, and in fact, actually, Labarsic kind of beat me to that comment, actually. So 110 and a touchdown seems about right for him. So he's kind of went split. So I don't know if that might change your decision a little bit. I don't know if I'm playing devil's advocate for you here, Jamie.
When you break it down that way, yeah, it's...
Remember also we're using half PPR as well here, so you're going to have a couple of catches as well. So,
do you know what? I'll go higher. Do you know what I mean? I'll find some positivity on my side this week.
Yeah, I'm definitely going higher on that account. Okay, so next on the list, Ezekiel Elliott, 10.7 points. Obviously, bear in mind he's still questionable. We don't know if he is going to play, but if he was to play, they've predicted him to score 10.7. So that could be like 47 yards and a touchdown as an example, or, so, yeah. And sorry, Labassi's changed his answer. He's like, oh, shoot, PPR, he's going higher. So he's changed his answer.
Yeah.
But in terms of Lamb there, but in terms of CD Lamb, 10.7. And we'll start with Jamie.
I've just took Mickey out of use for doing it. I'm going to sit on fence and I'm going to split it. I just think, what is it, 3 games in 15 days for the Cowboys? And going back off his injury, I don't think the Cowboys will get pick him this week. So I think it's just around about right.
10.7, so you're going split?
Yeah.
So that could be 9.7 or 11.7. So that's your range. So, okay. Lauren?
I think he gets a touchdown and 50, 60 yards. So
higher.
No, I'll just go a little bit higher. I don't slightly more than a split.
I am actually going to go lower, to be honest, because of how the Vikings run defense is. That's based on my opinion on how, especially after watching how they played against Buffalo. So I'm kind of sold on that idea that this is probably one of the underestimated run defense we're going to be up against. So I am going to say lower.
Okay.
Next we have Dalton Schultz, 10.3 points. Higher or lower? And back to you, Lauren. Oh, sorry. Before we do that, I'll bring on everybody else who just. Joe has went lower thanks to Kellen Moore. Ouch, burn. And Labastri's with you. Around about 60 and a touchdown. So Labastri's kind of saying higher. Take that higher. So yeah. So he's just confirmed that. So anyway, sorry. Back to Dalton Schultz. 10 point. God, what was it again? 10.3.
Well, it does. It's certainly because Dak's on the field. Dak is using him a hell of a lot more than Cooper Rush was in that Bengals game. I'm going to go slightly lower on that one. I don't think we haven't seen that anywhere close to 100 yards off him, and I think when it comes to using him inside the red zone at the moment, I think we're going to the other tight ends at the moment. So, yeah, I'll go slightly lower.
Jamie?
Lower. I think rookie tandem tight ends are going to see probably more ball between the shorts.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying lower because I am all about the Jake Ferguson train.
Yes, I'm on the same here.
So that's where my head's at. I am loving Jake Ferguson. I hope he just develops as a Cowboy. And from the comments section, we've got Joe. He's went higher, and we've got Labasti going lower with no TD. And you're getting a big compliment today, my friend. Man, Lauren and I are in sync today. So there we go. So next one on the list is the Dallas Cowboys defense with 6.8. Now, this is going to be a tough one, I think. A tough one to really, because obviously, if you can shut out a team, then the points are going to stack high. If you score pick sixes, it's going to contribute to those points. I think there's going to be games where, I think this game where there's potential pick sixes, because if we can pressurize Kirk Cousins. So I'll go first in this one. So I think it's going to be split, to be perfectly honest with you. I think it's going to be a split.
Yeah. I'm going to err on the side of caution and split as well, because obviously this has the potential that if Phelan and Jefferson come on in this game and we don't get to Kirk Cousins, then it has potential to be bad. But I think we can do enough to get in Kirk Cousins' face, get him rattled. So yeah, I'm going 6.8. That's fine. Yeah,
but don't forget that can jump to 7.8 as well. So
yeah,
you do have your leverage. So that's what I'm kind of thinking as well. So So yeah, so Labasters went higher and Joe's went higher. A couple of turnovers and some pressure. That will still add to the points, but if Vikings score points, then obviously that will deduct that right back down again. So there's that to consider as well. So that's that's always the tricky part when you're trying to predict higher or lower for defense, because that can always jump up and down very drastically. So, but
Yep.
yeah, I just saw the comment. And Labastri says, I'll say it till it happens. Turpin TD. Yes, it's going to happen at some point this season. He's going to get a running touchdown. It has to happen at some point this season. The kid deserves it. It really does. Jamie, I didn't even ask you what your prediction was. Sorry. A Cowboys defense 6.8.
I'm going to go low. I just think the Cowboys are going to get burned for a crap load of yards. And a lot of touchdowns. Usually, yeah, and I'm full of doom and gloom tonight. But I think this is probably the best offense we're going to face all season. And it speaks for itself, though. They're just, when they're on it, And if it were AT&T Stadium, I would probably be like, you know what? I think this crowd would get behind, and you'd probably say higher. I think because it's out there. Weather's a bit drastic. I know it's indoor, but it's still going to play a little. It's some sort of and they're just on it at the minute. So yeah, don't shoot the messenger, but yeah, it's going to go.
There we go. I thought I'd just kind of share this up. So I don't know if you may have just noticed that, Jamie, but your last prediction actually spells out hell.
Well, that's the story of the Cowboys for you, isn't it? Really, to be fair, put through every bloody way.
Right. So with that now being said, let's now move on to the Vikings. So let me get their fantasy points up just now. So Kirk Cousins, 18.4 fantasy points, higher or lower? And we'll start with Jamie.
Higher.
Okay. Higher.
Just going to leave it at that. I'm not even going to say anything else.
Okay. Lauren?
I'll go even on that. If we're giving up or if he's giving up interceptions and still scoring touchdowns as well, as my game prediction would suggest. Yeah, I'm going. It's a split on that one.
All right, and I will go lower on that one. I think he's going to be like a fifth. I think he's going to be between 15 and 16 points. So that's where I'm kind of at with that. And with the comments, let me see here. I'm just trying to catch up. So come on, guys, show some confidence in our defense. No, I do have. Sorry, Joe. We do have confidence in their defense, but I'm just kind of saying, like, if Cousins was to score points, it does bring the points back down again. So I do have confidence in it. I just think when you look at how our fantasy teams, there's some great defenses, but they're maybe averaging 8 points a game, and that depends. That's with teams putting points on the board still. So that's where I'm kind of at with that. So it's no dig to the defense. So it says we'll be picked by the Cowboys to get demolished. Oh God, that's talking about your hell comment there. And Joe's went lower for Kirk Cousins. I agree with that one. And Labastri's went split. All right, cool. Next one.
Can somebody just tell Kirk Cousins that America's Game of the Week on Fox, obviously, which is the game that we're playing, is the equivalent of prime time, because then that will work in our favor as well. You know what he's like in prime time.
I forgot about that.
I'm trying to shade him.
Yeah. Okay, so next one, Dalvin Cook, 15.8 points. Higher or lower? And Jamie?
I'm going to go lower on this one. Just with me saying that because he's going to get more, I think they're going to probably be a bit more of an area threat this week.
So do you think our run defense are actually going to be a bit more more formidable in terms of stopping the run?
Yeah, definitely this week.
All right, okay. I like it.
Last week might have been a bit of a fluke. You know what I mean? That was the Packers. Aaron Rodgers could play with.
All right.
No, the team can probably still beat us.
Okay. Lauren?
I'm going to go higher, I'm afraid. I still think because our corners aren't willing to come up and be that force on the edge, I think teams are going to keep testing us on that edge as well. So if they can get outside, I think, this defense is going to give up yardage again.
We've actually got 2 evens here, and we're going to make that a third even because I am going evens on that as well. Because bear in mind, it could be 14 points, it could be 16 points. 14.8 or 16.8. I find that's kind of quite a fair score to kind of assess Dalvin Cook. But with that being said, Justin Jefferson, 20.5 points. I don't know where to start with this one. Lauren, hit me with this one.
I'm going to go lower on this. I think if he's playing, then I think Diggs will be up against him.
Yeah,
and
pressure is key. The pressures are key.
Yep, I think Diggs has managed to keep him in check the last couple of years. So
yeah.
I'm going lower on that one.
Okay, Jamie.
I'm going to say split. I think for him to get that amount of points, Cousins got to have a decent day as well, fantasy-wise. And I said he was going to probably get a little bit higher. So yeah, I think that's a split for Jefferson.
Yep, I am definitely going lower on this one. I'm just going based on the articles and the statistics, based on how they've been ranked, stuff like that. So they're past, like in terms of whatever on that. And like you're saying there, Lauren, I think Diggs has pretty much Jefferson's back pocket in a way. I think this could be a comeback game, and also if we can just keep the pressure on Kirk Cousins, that opens up to more mistakes as well. So I'm kind of on that train. I think in terms of our success on the defense, it's going to be coming from putting the pressure on Kirk Cousins and him making mistakes. So I think that will be the game winner for that. So I'm saying lower. And on the guys in the comments, Joe has went hell no lower, and obviously, and Labash's went lower as well. All right. TJ Hawkinson, 12.6 points.
Lower.
And bear in mind, he's not, even though he's featured, I think he just had his first game just last week there. And I don't know, I can't remember what his actual stats were, but I don't think he was really featured that much. He did get involved, but he didn't really make a massive impact, I don't believe. So I think this could be a different game this week.
I think I'm going to go even. I think in the last, obviously, it's been 2 games he's played for them since getting traded from Detroit.
It's a 2 games. So I do apologize.
Yeah, and I think he's caught something like 16 passes in those 2 games.
Yeah, I'll just double check. Stats. Let me just check.
I'm gonna say.
Yep, 16 catches.
I'm gonna say split on. I'm gonna split on that one.
Okay, so split. So as of right now, with the 2 games with 16 catches, with 115 yards in total between those 2 games, he's not yet to score a touchdown. So you're averaging 57.5 yards a game. So with that being said, I'm kind of just going to go based on the pure statistic point because we don't know too much with him being in this new system to what he was like with Detroit. So I'm going to say lower for. So let me just update my sheet. So Jamie, you said lower, didn't you?
Yeah,
lower. Yeah. Lauren, you said even.
Yeah, I said even. I think Jaron Kearse hasn't been the same sort of tight end killer he has been the last couple of years, or was last year. I think Hawkinson gave us issues when he was playing for Detroit. I think he got 4 balls for about 80 yards when he was on the Detroit game. And this is a better offense if we don't get to Kirk Cousins. Or even if we do get to Kirk Cousins, I mean, I think this is going to be well, he'll be focusing on it, looking for an outlet, and I think Hawkinson is slowly developing that rapport with him. That he's almost the safety blanket for him.
Yeah, that's a fair point. So before we move on to the final one, and then we can start paying off the bills, Joe has went and said lower, and Labarski has said lower. We keep the tight ends in check. All right. And finally, the last one's law is the Vikings defense at 6.4 points. So bear in mind, if you say split, you're moving up to 7.4, or lower. The lowest point is 5.4. So you're in between that 1 point region of higher and negative, like positive and negative. So we'll start with Jamie.
I'm going to go higher.
Sorry, say that again.
I'm going to go higher. I think they going to get a couple of picks this weekend. Dak doesn't feel the confidence at this minute. I don't think he's been great since he's come back.
All right, Lauren.
I think we're going to work on ball control this week. I don't think we're going to give over turnovers. I don't, our offensive line isn't giving up too many pressures or too many sacks. I'm going to go even again, though. I just think it's going to be one of those games where we're, everything's there or thereabouts. So.
Yeah. And finally, for myself, I am on agreement with you, Lauren. I'm going to say even. And with that being said, the last two from the comments, Joe has went lower and Labarski's went split to the low end. So we're kind of we're not too far away from everyone in terms of, like, even though the boards kind of suggest is otherwise, but we're kind of thinking the same, but just ever slightly so subtle differences in this. So, but yes, that is our fantasy lounge this week. Obviously, we'll get Nix's input. I will send him a message and get his thoughts on it to send us this type of format, and we'll update our fantasy scores for next week. But yeah, Jamie, I'll leave it back over to you.
Yeah, so I think you say we pay the bills, so should we go with the content providers first? Would you guys want to take it away?
Yeah, I'll take that one on. So, just a minute, I'll bring it up.
Do you want me to get it for you?
Yeah, go on.
All right. It is right here. Oh, it's the wrong one. Here we go.
So yeah, guys, check out all these guys on the Ring of Honor. Obviously the Cowboys' own podcast, Talking Cowboys, Hanging with the Boys, Logging the Boys. Check out KT's fun tweets, Pick Six Sports, Skywalker Steel. All of these guys are really worth a listen to. I check them out every week. I mean, I'm listening to about 8 or 9 hours worth of podcasts at double speed now. And it's just helping me build up my understanding of what's going on both within the organization, what other people are thinking about the games as well. So I recommend you check these guys out. And obviously Law Nation as well. They've got a tie-in with our main sponsor. So.
Yep, and with our main sponsor, be sure. Oh, that's our travel package. To apologize. It's be sure to go and check out Cowboys Experience for the ultimate meet and greet stadium tour, for game tickets and tailgating experiences and much more. Get to meet players like Micah Parsons, Jay Novacek, Lincoln Coleman. There, as you can see there, looking all pretty with the Cowboys XP sign there. Also, players like Hall of Famer Drew Pearson, Travis Frederick, Zach Martin, and many, many more. And guys, when I say go with Cowboys Experience, you are literally getting the best experience you're ever going to be as a Cowboys fan traveling overseas. Me and Jamie have used them numerous times over the years, and honestly, they do treat you like absolute royalty. But with that being said, if you use the discount code UK Cowboys, guys, what do you get?
You get free stuff.
You get free stuff. Yeah, you sure do. And also, with that being our with Cowboys Experience being our sponsor, we do have a travel package for next year, which includes game tickets, tours, and meet and greets, and much more, and for other things. So be sure to go and visit our Facebook group for more further details, or contact Cowboys Experience directly and let them know where you came from, which is obviously from the UK Cowboys fans, and they will give you the full details of what is to come for next year.
So I think we're pretty much wrapped up. So I think the last couple of things just to chuck out there. Remember, guys, that the game this week is at 9:25. It is on Sky Sports this side of the pond. So sadly for you guys and girls that are subscribers to NFL Game Pass, it's going to be blacked out. So tune in to us on the Facebook group and Twitter for live updates.
Yep. We will have the live Twitter space as well, I believe.
So it was quite popular last week, Paul. Yeah, so good reminder.
Yep. So join us on Twitter during the game and stuff, pre-game, halftime, and stuff like that. So be sure to go and check us out on Twitter. And but yeah,
and if you really want, if you're not a Sky subscriber and you really want to watch the game, try something like Now TV and get one of the one-day game passes. I think it's $7.99. Obviously you get 24 hours of watching sport, so you can watch your both NFL, the 6 o'clock and the 9:25 games, and even have the red zone as well.
Or find a sports bar that does have Sky Sports and you can watch the game there. There you go.
Very cool, yeah. I think one of the last ones before we tune off is just a reminder from Mike, with it being a quick turnaround, next week is the show. We think we're right in thinking this. We're going to combine the pre-game and the post-game show on Wednesday.
Yeah,
absolutely tons of guests. Mike is frothing at the bit, and he's loving it. There's a crap load of guests coming on.
Yeah, I know who the guest is, and I'm not going to tell.
If he's mentioned a couple of names, or he's mentioned one definite name, and he's mentioned a couple of other names to me, and if they come off, it's definitely worth tuning in.
Yeah, so guys, we're not going to be on Tuesday. It's going to be Wednesday, and it's going to be a combined post-game and pre-game show for obviously Thanksgiving, and we're going to have our sponsors, Barry Griffith, coming on to the show, along with some special guests as well. So it's one you do not want to miss. So.
And then before I turn it over to these two guys, just Mike, your seat is safe in the hosting chair. Thank you to Nix for coming on, for you guys at home for tuning in and giving your feedback and your comments, and to Lorne and Paul for helping me look half decent tonight. So over to you guys.
Yeah, guys. We'll see you Wednesday, and hopefully we will get this Cowboys victory, and we're not down in the slumps. But the season's not over, folks. It's not over.
Yep. Yeah, let's go Cowboys. Let's rebound, build up for the run into the end of the season, and everything's going to be rosy on Wednesday night.
All right, guys. Have a good one.